City Cast Boise is brought to you by WestVet. At WestVet, they know pets aren't like family, they are family. That's why they provide expert, compassionate veterinary care 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for cats and dogs. WestVet Boise and WestVet Meridian offer the region's most comprehensive emergency and specialty care from board-certified veterinarians and an expert caregiver team. WestVet can also help your pet with unexpected, non-critical conditions with their urgent care program. Visit westvet.net to find care you can count on from the team that is leading specialty healthcare for pets.
Today on City Cast Boise, it's 2024. Happy New Year. Oh boy. You know, January isn't always everyone's favorite month. It's certainly not mine. So whether you're outside shredding the slopes or lighting every candle you have to burn off the winter blues, our show team is here to help you get through the month. We talk winter activities, cozy vibes, and after that, we do a bit of looking ahead at the year to come. It's Tuesday, January 2nd. I'm Nick Kwa, and this is what Boise's talking about. Happy New Year. I don't know why it hurts me to say that it's 2024, but it's just the passage of time. And also the that 20 number is going up. But Happy New Year is 2024. Are either of you New Year's resolutions people? Because I'm not. Evelyn, are you a New Year, New You sort of person? What's the mood here?
Yeah, it's 2024, and typically I'm so good about setting New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
However, this 2024, I really am just going into it. Whatever happens, happens. I am not setting any intentions, any resolutions.
I love it.
We'll see what happens. I want to see where the year takes me.
Let your aspirations stay dreams. That's what it is.
Maybe it is New Year, New Me, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, Blake, are you a go-getter? Like, what's the mood here?
No, I've never been described as a go-getter in my life. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not, and I don't feel the need to be. You know,
Yeah.
I am going into this year a little bit differently, I think. January is all about preparing for seasonal depression. I'll be honest. We'll just go right out the gate. Yeah, we got so many things. We're armed with many things. And so we're starting the year with just like focusing on a practice of, I'm starting the year with focusing on a practice of taking care of myself and getting through the cold months. That's really where I'm at.
Well, goodness, I think the pandemic definitely broke me before 2020. Well, even on 2020, that was the last year that I had New Year's resolutions. I used to have this whole ritual where I sit down on January 1st and I go like, I'm going to write down 10 things I want to get done this year. 5 of them really realistic, 5 of them stretch goals. I've had write a novel at number 10 for 4 years now. Have not started an inch.
That's exactly where it should be. Yeah. Writing a novel, always the last priority. Yeah.
So, I took my dreams, I took it to the backyard and I buried them. That's my plan for January 2024. And the thing about New Year's in a place like Boise, or in a place that has seasons, is that it's dark, it's cold, it's miserable. And I need advice for the two of you. Like, what has generally been your approach to handling January? Because I can only burn so many candles before I lose my mind. Blake, let's start with you. I feel really desperate here.
Well, candles were my only solution, so I don't know where to go. No, I think that a lot of it comes down to winter is for slowing down. Winter is for gathering around, kind of shoring up, storytelling. I think that like winter is truly the time to really lean into entertainment and like learn the lessons that you can from writers that you love or from movies or, live music, that kind of thing. Like, it's really easy when you're still kind of expected to like work 40 hours a week or much more. Whatever the situation is, it's really easy to get frustrated by and just bogged down by the fact that like we're still supposed to be producing. You're after the holidays. So if you're in the holidays, the cheer is going down. But I would just remind you that we are past the solstice, so it is getting lighter every single day.
That's an optimistic viewpoint. Love it.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of it is just like understand that there is value in January. There is value in slowing down and living in that and preparing for the new year.
I need to pull a snippet of you saying that remember that January can be a good thing and blast it in my ears as I hug my sat
Yeah.
lamp in the morning.
If you'll realize I didn't give you any concrete tips or
Yes.
things to go by or anything that will actually help. So
Listen, it's not like I would listen if I got any concrete advice here.
Yeah, and that's
Evelyn, are you a January person?
No, I am a January hater. I think that January is probably the worst month.
it's hard.
I just want to like stay in my room, in my blanket, watch my favorite shows, turn on my candle. Like I
Gosh.
really, yeah, the holidays are over. It's like, what am I looking forward to? I'm
Yeah.
cold.
So the thing I associate Boise with in terms of its pleasures, it's like outdoor stuff. And I think the thing that really gets to me is that like when I want to go for a pleasurable hike, it's basically you got to prepare your body for war. And trails are closed. It's muddy. Not all trails are open through the winter. And it's like it's a little bit tough. I also don't ski. I'm not a big. I have never skied. I've never snowboarded, and so it puts a lot of limit on that. But I am intending to snowshoe this season, and I intend to hit the trails website a ton to actually figure out where I'm supposed to be snowshoeing up in the sort of outer greater Boise area. Are either of you skiing people? Like I'm not so sure what the vibe is here.
I love that, Nick. I actually do want to go snowshoeing. Also, on top of that, never been skiing or snowboarding, which I've been talking about since last year. But the goal is to finally try it.
Oh, you're trying it.
I'm going to try it.
I'm so happy for you.
And I'm going to, I don't know if I'm skiing or snowboarding,
Right.
but we're going to learn. I have to do it at least once. I feel like I'm missing out. I do have FOMO.
So you'd be taking lessons. You'd be doing the bunny slopes kind of situation.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the free
Just find a
lessons
friend
with
who
my
knows.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it is funny that like oftentimes in the middle of winter I am like, okay, why do I feel like I'm the only person losing my
Yes.
mind? And that is because a lot of people do love the outdoor winter sports. And so I'm not a skier just because one, it's a lot of money. Two, it's a lot of money to break your body. Like I just don't feel, I feel like I'm going to get injured. But like I do want to do it. I am a big fan of snowshoeing, love snowshoeing. I haven't done it in Boise a lot, but I think that y'all should go for it. I think that it's just a good way to, I don't know, just like be outside on like a sunny day, get the vitamin D in your eyes, and just like go home and I don't know, have like cook a good stew or something. Like that's a great winter day. That will remind you that there is some value to it. Yeah.
There are some winter days where I just spend completely indoors and I feel very, very bad at the end of it. But so
Totally.
having that nice contrast of going out and really burning your skin in the cold. Now that's the contrast we want. But sometimes you just do want a good long day indoors, right? And it's,
Totally.
the sort of, yes, it's sunrise is getting earlier and earlier, but very marginally and very slowly. Yeah, so I'm traditionally not a sort of cozy indoors person. I think the Scandinavians call it hygge or something. This notion of pulling out the blankets and like lighting your house on fire with candles. But I'd say that you are that sort of person. Like what is, give me a couple of tips here. Because I'm not a cozy person.
I don't think being cozy means that you have to be bored. I feel like you have room to get creative and invite your friends over, or if you're with your partner or whoever you want to be with, like get cozy together and figure out a fun activity. You could have like a hot chocolate competition where you get creative and make hot chocolates and you're watching your favorite movies. You're having a movie day, movie night, or you could make like cool, festive, alcoholic or mocktails. Maybe have a spa day, which is so nice. Grab some face masks.
That's such a good idea. Yeah. And then some hot spring action, maybe,
Yeah. So I think that is a good way to dive into cozy while making it enjoyable and fun and creative in a way.
Here's a concrete tip. I think that oftentimes people feel just like so overwhelmed by the idea of like trying to make everything really cozy. So it's just like, okay, maybe I should like throw a dinner party or just like get my room like perfect, like get your space really perfect. It's so easy to just get overwhelmed by that. And like your brain is already like doing its very best just to get through the day. So I think that honestly, my tip is just to find one thing and do it well. So like if it's kind of like a potluck style thing, if you think of it that way, of like ask your friends to do one thing and you can do another, and just like don't try to bite off way too much. I think just like just find one thing and do it well and find satisfaction in that, and then move on to the next day, because we're just trying to get through week by week.
That actually sounds really good. And just, it's sort of like giving your life a little bit more focus.
Yeah,
and your
exactly.
anxiety something to sort of latch onto. I do, however, like place a lot of like emphasis on my day-to-day experiences on like novelty. And speaking of lighting a house on fire with candles, like I am vaguely interested in candle making, and I think like this is probably the best time of year to try that. Or just taking a class in general, like having an excuse to go out and go see and meet new people. Which reminds me, I should probably log on to the City of Boise classes activities portal.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is like you have to kind of give your brain something to focus on. You got to create your own dopamine, to be honest.
I thank you for this attempt at helping me cope with January and winter, and I appeal to you again to help me cope with something else, which is the legislative session. Another thing that's cold and dark and miserable.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to pick up around January 8th, I believe, and usually it runs for a couple of months. Usually it runs to March or April, but of course there's no set time to how long a legislative session can go. I believe 2021 session ran for almost a whole year, give or take many, many long breaks. And Blake, you cover sort of the sort of local news through the newsletter. Tell me a little bit about how you're thinking about the shape of the upcoming legislative session and how you're sort of like hoping to tackle it, because you're designing a future episode around the session soon, right?
Yeah, so we'll have a kind of preview of just what the big names and the big topics to expect coming out soon. So, but as far as the shape of it, I mean, we've turned a corner in particular the pandemic and a lot of backlash to that. And this is just how I frame it in my mind, is like it's a lot of backlash to like Black Lives Matter movements in 2020.
It's a long tail of them, to roll everything back.
Yeah. And so I expect it to be long. However, a good thing to remember is that some of these legislators will be up for re-election. So sometimes that means that they're going to go home a little bit earlier or try to go home a little bit earlier. So, there's going to be a lot of things to focus on. I do think that, the more you're able to... this is what I found, is that the more I'm able to kind of regulate how much time and energy I dedicate towards paying attention to what they're doing, the more I'm able to stay in it and stay learning about things and just like don't get sucked into the spiral, I guess is me watching the legislative session every year. But yeah, I think that it's going to be an interesting one, whereas in the last few years we've had a lot of big ticket issues that we know are going to be predominant. Last year, school quote unquote vouchers, the year before COVID stuff and higher education rollbacks and whatnot. I'm not really sure what our big ticket item is this year yet.
I mean, the sort of list of what they'll be attending to will be released eventually. And it's always, it's always the feeling, right? Going into the legislative session, and as we sort of live through it as a city, is this feeling of just holding your breath and just like taking the hits, basically. That's kind of how it's felt for many, many, many years. Though, and yes, I think the election year dynamic does play kind of an interesting role as well. And, in both ways, right? It does often constrict how long the session goes because of the electioneering like dynamic, but also like people want to show their bona fides, and so they take the opportunity to pass bills or take political actions that seem a little bit more extreme. And we're mostly talking about the sort of the Republican majority in the Senate and the House.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been a tough year for the Idaho GOP, and the Idaho Freedom Foundation's influence is kind of waning every year. So we'll see how that plays out. I think that the intra-fighting within the GOP might be a big focus this year. So we'll see what happens.
You're referring to the sort of like emerging fault line between the sort of more extreme wings of the party that has, I suppose, adopted a stance where they're trying to set agenda for everybody, and the sort of more moderate and, perhaps more reasonable Republicans going, this is just not sensical. We want to sort of bring the party back into some form of order.
Yeah, and for the Treasure Valley and Boise specifically, I would just think about, you got to remember that Idaho is a testing ground for huge lobbying and law writing groups nationally. And so we're gonna see a lot of big stuff. We're gonna see a lot of big. I don't know what the word is that I'm trying to come up with here, but very like emotional elements in legislation coming through. We got to keep our head level. We got to keep an eye on where the abortion ban, like we have so many old laws that are now caught up in courts. So we're going to be talking about those throughout this whole process. So we got to keep a level head, take care of yourself, and we'll get through it again.
Right. And it's important to note that state politics is not merely contained to the Capitol here itself. There is an open primaries initiative, which I think I think they got enough signatures by the time we're talking here.
Or close. It should be close. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just read recently that the prison bond, which very narrowly was defeated in the last election in November, is now back into play. And so that's just a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I look forward to sort of reading it all and tackling it all with all.
Yeah.
Walk me through just a little bit quickly here. Like, what are your primary sort of resources to keep up with state level news? Because I tend to default to the Idaho Capital Sun. I read the Idaho Press sometimes, and I like turn on KTVB every evening. But what's your general circuit?
For the legislative session, Idaho Reports, Idaho Capital Sun, and Idaho Education News, I think, are my three go-to. So Idaho Reports is put through Idaho Public Television, and they have an incredible blog of veteran reporters. So Betsy Russell left the Idaho Press last year. Happy retirement to her once again. So there's a big titan kind of missing that was there for decades in Idaho journalism. But yeah, Idaho Press, Idaho Statesman are always good to go to as well.
So before we wrap up this episode, I'm going to take us back to the whole notion of attending to a whole new year, and I'm going to sort of jump you with a surprise question to both of you. Let's start with you. I know that we poo-pooed resolutions earlier, but let's just narrow it down to one. Okay. Give me one thing that you want to do, get done, try out in Boise this year.
I'm going to be writing more for myself and sharing that with people. I have just so many ideas rolling around just all the time for creative writing projects. And so I'm going to dedicate more time to them. I have people to write with now and to hold me accountable for that. And I think that also part of it is just surrounding yourself with the right people. So I'm getting involved in some artist collective stuff locally, which I'll have some exciting news coming out soon about that, of a project that I'm working on. But yeah, that's my main goal, is to be more creative and make sure that I'm filling that cup up for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Evelyn, what is your version of an answer to this? Like, what do you want to try out, get done? Just one thing, one little resolution.
Yeah, I'm also going to be tapping into my creative side. I really, really want to take a sewing class here in the Treasure Valley.
That's awesome.
And eventually, just play around with fashion. It'd be so cool to learn how to make clothing. So baby steps, learning how to sew.
That's fantastic.
I love that for you. What about you, Nick?
I'm keeping my resolution very small and very gettable, which is I want, for once in my life, to win a trivia night here in the Treasure Valley. And it will happen. I will. Okay. I swear it was going to happen.
Have you got a crew?
I have a rotating fluid crew, but yes, I'm usually at Lost Grove Brewing on Thursday nights.
Okay.
And one of these days, we'll pull it off.
One of these days.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Blake, Evelyn, thank you, and Happy New Year once again.
Thanks. Happy New Year. Happy 2024.
Happy 2024.
Good luck getting through January, everyone.
That's all for today here on City Cast Boise. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend about the show. We'll be back Friday morning with more local stories from around the city. Bye.